AMD is one stock that I have been looking for some time now. And if you are thinking of investing into AMD, or you already have some in your portfolio and you are thinking what to do about it, whether to hold it or sell it or just ignore it if you don't even have it. In this video, we are going to really find out what you can do with AMD and whether you should load up at this point. If you want to know more, then stick around. We are going to completely discuss the full analysis of AMD in this. Hello guys, I am Abhi and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, then please consider subscribing and pressing that bell icon so you know when my new videos are coming. I mostly make stock analysis and option strategies related videos. So if you are interested, then please consider subscribing. Okay, coming to our topic of today. So we have a full agenda of AMD analysis today. We are going to discuss what brings AMD to the forefront of the AI and the future prospect that it has in coming months to coming year. And then we are going to go about how you can play AMD using different option strategies. Then we will discuss some risks. It's always good to discuss the risks, and then I'll give a breakdown of all the points in a good conclusive summary. So let's start. So on the future prospects, right, based on my analysis and whatever AMD has been doing for the past year or so, I have found these four major categories where AMD is really progressing, and how this is gonna shape up in future. We are going to go in each of them and try to understand whether it could be a game changer for AMD or it may not pan out as AMD is expecting. So the first one is MI300X chip, which they kind of introduced in the CES summit that happened. Lisa Su is very enthusiastic about the chip, and for a good reason as well, because this is the only chip that can actually present a rivalry to Nvidia's H100 chip. Most of the data center that process large language models that being used in AI, that is all driven by Nvidia's H100, and Nvidia is the only player who is actually have that kind of chip. AMD is the only competitor, a real competitor, I would say, that is there to Nvidia, and that is their M300X chip. Let's listen quickly to Lisa Su on that CS summit.
So let me show you one more chip tonight. This is a big one, guys. I am super proud to show you MI300 for the very, very first time. This is actually the most complex chip we've ever built. It has 9 5-nanometer chiplets that are 3D stacked on top of 4 6-nanometer chiplets with significant HBM surrounding it. And it has more than 146 billion transistors.
If you want to listen to the complete presentation, then I have put a link down in the description. You can go and watch that. For now, let's move on to our next topic, which is collaboration with Microsoft. So AMD has been collaborating with Microsoft. It was announced in May this year that they are going to collaborate with Microsoft on AI built into the chips. And as you know that Microsoft is already acquired OpenAI, which is the brain behind the Chat GPT, right? So they are already in their AI space, and now AMD is kind of from the hardware side, AMD is going to collaborate with Microsoft on supplying the chip that they are going to use to drive their AI future, right? So it's kind of a win-win for both AMD and Microsoft. And as Microsoft is also heavily bullish on their AI expenditure and AI investments, AMD is going to be profitable in that sense as well. So they are going to take that profit share based on how Microsoft goes, right? And with the OpenAI being the first in its game, it's gonna be really a game changer for AMD. Going to the next one, right? Their acquisition with the Xilinx. This is again a big and again centered around the AI. Xilinx is already is an established company that was doing a lot of things around the AI, the automotive industry, the aerospace and defense. They are already into those spaces using their AI presence, and now AMD has acquired very strategically, I would say, to grow their AI presence. And this is gonna help AMD build into the front and center of the AI. You can always read through more about it in the internet, and you can do your own due diligence around it. I'm just going to put some of the links down in the description so that you can go more into the detail about this acquisition and what they have done. Okay, going next, right, which is their acquisition with Mipsology. This is so far whatever we have seen is mostly around kind of a hardware side of AMD, but AMD is also based on this acquisition. The Mipsology is mainly around software on top of the AI, and this is gonna kind of deepen their AI interface in the software capability terms centered around AI. So AMD is really pushing hard, as you can see in all of these points, right? AMD is really pushing hard on the AI depth and breadth that it's trying to create. Okay, moving on to the option strategies, right? The positive developments that we saw in AMD that's been happening, how do we take advantage of that using options, right? So there are three main strategies that I can think that we can put in AMD that we will gonna benefit from. So I'm going to discuss them point wise. By the way, guys, if you have liked the video so far, please do subscribe and like the video. That motivates me to bring much more content like this. Now back to the video. The first one is leaps. Leaps are, if you don't know what a leap is, it's basically a longer term call with a deep in the money strike price, right? So you buy a call which is far out in the future, let's say Jan 2025 expiry, and with a delta of 90 or more. You can go with the 80 or 90. So it's basically almost you're kind of trying to mimic the 100 shares of the stock as if you're owning those stocks, right? But you don't actually own, you just own the options of that. You don't have to put that much capital which you have to otherwise pay to own the 100 shares of a stock, right? So that's the advantage of leap. I'm going to put a separate video dedicated to leap because I don't want to put everything here, otherwise this video is gonna be too long. So wait for that. Do subscribe to my channel. There'll be that video, and there'll be a lot of other option related videos. Okay, so do subscribe. Okay, now moving on to the next one, which is cash secured puts, right? This is again a bullish strategy and a fantastic way if you want to own AMD at your desired price, right? So this is one of the strategies that even Warren Buffett uses to kind of buy into the stock, right? So if you are bullish in AMD long term, this is a fantastic strategy. You can sell a put at your strike price, which is a lower than your strike, lower than the current market price of AMD. I do have some videos about cash secured puts in my channel, so you can check them out. Okay, moving on to the third one, right? Let's say you are bullish on AMD long term. However, in the short term, based on the macroeconomic condition and or for whatever reason, if you think that the market could be little bearish to neutral in the short term, but you are bullish in long term, right, in AMD, and that's what I am, right? I am bullish on AMD long term. However, short term I cannot predict, right? It may be based on how the technicals looks like right now. It could have a little bit of downturn from here, but overall I am bullish. So to take advantage of this kind of situation, right, there's a fantastic strategy as calendar spread, where you kind of you combine the leap that we discussed, you combine that leap with a covered call, right? So it is also called a poor man covered call. I'll put a link down in the description of my blog that explains it in complete detail. And I'm going to soon put a detailed video of this strategy as well. So it's a good strategy to reduce your cost basis further. You continue to own that leap and you sell covered call against that leap, a shorter term covered call against that leap position. Now let's talk about some of the risks, right? It's always good to have the bullish perspective, but you should look at the risks as well. So in case of AMD, although I don't see much of a risk, but there is a slight risk that I could kind of see if they're heavily betting on their MI300X chip, and if the demand of that chip is not as they are expecting, then there may be a shorter term downturn that you would see. How much of their revenue is gonna generate from their data centers, that's gonna tell you also how their newly developed this MI300 chip is doing. That is the only risk that I see as of now. AMD has a price to sales ratio of about 7.3, which is compared to the Nvidia and overall semiconductor chip sector, right? It is very reasonable, and there is a much growth that you can see from here, especially if all their plans comes to in place, right? This valuation is gonna boost really high in by the end of the year and the next year. Okay, let's quickly summarize all this. So the first thing that we discussed, right, that's kind of to sum that up is AI is front and center for AMD. Right now they're completely focused on AI, and the AI overall, the market, right, it's gonna boost multifold in the coming years. And right now Nvidia is the only company that is kind of best position to take advantage of that, and the only second to Nvidia is gonna be AMD, that is right now at a driver's seat to make most of the AI boom that we are seeing right now. The second thing that we discussed was overall I see more bullish sentiment going into AMD than bearish. If you look at a lot of the analysts that are predicting in most of the prominent overall sites, right, you would see that they are kind of having a strong buy signal on AMD at this level. The final thing is the valuation that we discussed, right? The valuation wise also AMD is kind of their price to sales ratio is overall the industry, and compared to where they are trying to compete, which is Nvidia, which is much lower, and they have a lot of room to grow. Okay guys, so that was it for this video. I hope you liked this presentation, and make do your further due diligence on it and then decide what you're gonna do with AMD. Happy investing guys, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye bye.